keep expanding. But what we need to do right now is we got to take a look at where the communist countries are in the 8. Here's a map, and I want to talk about a few things. First off, where does communism begin? First communist state? Russia, here it is. We've been talking about how communism has to expand. Where's the first place it expands?
China.
Well, before that even?
East Europe.
Eastern Europe, so it's here. Now where does it go? Now you can say it.
China.
It goes to China, so communism's here. It also goes to
Korea.
North Korea, it's here. Here's the world as we see it in 1958. Have we contained communism?
Yes.
Sort of.
It's a so-so.
We got to contain it where it is right here. This is literally the battle line of the Cold War. It stretches across Asia into Europe, but it hasn't gotten to Africa yet. Hasn't gotten to the Western Hemisphere. Are we doing okay?
Yeah.
I got bad news.
It's coming.
It's coming. Fortunately, we're going to have a situation where now we have it very clear what's taking place. We know for a fact that the Soviets are on the march, that they want to spread communism, that they want it to break out of this idea of containment. And they're willing to test the Americans to see what they're willing to do. There's going to be a new president coming into power who kind of has this identity crisis. We're going to see a new president coming into power. It's going to be President John F. Kennedy. Now, I have to kind of set up his election because this shows how the world is changing as well. When Kennedy is running, when he's campaigning for the presidency, the number one thing, really the only big issue, I can't say that, but the biggest issue in America and in the world is the Cold War. What's going to take place? Will there be a nuclear exchange? Are we going to blow up the world? Because by 1960, it's very possible. In fact, we're going to have a poll out there where it's going to be said that roughly 50% of Americans are certain, decided, done, the world will end in their lifetime. There will be a nuclear exchange. And this only starts to rise as we start to see some Russian technology start to outpace us. In 1957, the Soviets are going to launch the first man-made satellite. They're going to launch into orbit the first satellite that they called Sputnik. Now, this right here is a picture of what Sputnik looked like. It's not anything compared to today really complicated. But I want to go ahead and throw it at you guys. If you were living in 1957 America, and what you saw for public safety announcements were, if there's a nuclear exchange, hold the newspaper over your head.
Jeez.
And now they're launching satellites. Are you a little nervous?
Yeah, they're going to bomb us from space.
What people start to say is, well, what's next? An intercontinental ballistic missile. A missile that they could launch into space and drop down upon us at any time and anywhere they wanted. Now, here's the scary part. We don't have this technology. In 1957, we couldn't launch a satellite. We hadn't figured it out yet. So what does that mean if the Soviets launch first?
We lose.
We lose. So now let's kind of play this out. The threat of you launch, we launch, and we blow up the world together. Who's in the lead?
Russia.
The Soviets are in the lead. We have the American public starting to think this nuclear exchange is going to happen. It's going to take place, and we're going to lose. We need to fix this, and we need to do it right now. What we're going to do when we see the Soviets beating us in the space race is we're going to start to invest huge amounts of money into math and science research into schools. And we start saying the next phase of the Cold War is going to come in space. We need an entire new government a government agency to deal with what's going on in space. Who do you think I'm referring to? NASA. And we start saying, you know what we need to do to win the space race? We got to put someone on the moon.
Let's do it.
We got to figure out how to get them on the moon and get them back. Would have never happened had we not been competing against the Soviets. Now, the person that's going to pose this challenge is going to be President Kennedy. President Kennedy has been a long-time politician. He has been at the state level, he's been in the Senate, and by 1960, he thinks he's ready for a run for the presidency. He's the youngest president ever elected. Because Kennedy kind of gets it. He sees the changing world. And one thing that really solidifies this, and really symbolizes it, is going to be his debate. Now, this is one of the most famous presidential debates that ever took place. This is the Kennedy versus Nixon debates. One of the real reasons why this is so famous is because this is the very first debate that's on TV. Before this, the biggest communication technology was radio. Now, I will go ahead and just kind of point this out. Big difference between radio and TV. What's the difference?
One screen, the other.
Good, I had someone in years past be like, I don't know. How do you know? Whatever. Now all of a sudden, image becomes important. Now if you're on TV, you gotta look like a president. So I just want to ask you guys, if I say you gotta look like a president, what just kind of comes to mind? How does a president look? Suit? What do you think? Alan, what do you think? I'm sorry, Ben, what do you think?
Like a black suit.
Okay, so you gotta have tie on, gotta have the suit on, that's good. What else would you say makes you look like a president? Cameron, what do you think?
The face of being, I guess how you say, confident.
Okay, gotta look confident. If you look scared, probably not gonna be president. Kennedy.
You gotta have good posture.
Well, good posture, all right? Head up, shoulders back, gotta look like it, okay? These are all good. Anything else? I think these are all excellent ideas. Now let me say this. Does it help to be good looking?
Yeah.
Does it ever hurt to be good looking? Now, I'll go ahead and throw it out there. Girls, is President Joe Biden good looking?
Yeah.
Ella, was that you that said yeah?
Yeah.
He is? Okay, all right. What is it about him, would you say? Like the silver fox?
Ew. No, like just the pictures of him and his sister.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. I get what you're saying. It's never a bad thing. Now, I'll go ahead and throw this out there. Girls, President Donald Trump, is he good looking? I love like the spray tan. It's like, what are you doing? He's been doing that for literally 40 years. And then he's the president. It's like, went a little heavy on the spray tan there, Don. But it never hurts. When Kennedy's on TV, he kind of gets it. He knows to play up his advantages. Kennedy, for his whole life, has been told how good looking he is. TV could maybe be the perfect ally for him. When TV was first becoming a technology that could work, in the 1950s, 11% of American homes had TVs. That's the 1950s. By 1960, this technology is getting more and more into American homes. By 1960, 80% of American homes had TVs. And Nixon just didn't get it. He goes into this debate, and as he says, he was probably not really feeling 100%. He was kind of sweaty, and his face was all red. And he's going on TV, not really kind of seeing what's going to happen here. When the debate is over, there's a poll taken. People who saw it on TV overwhelmingly said Kennedy won that debate. He had him just crushed. People who heard it on the radio felt the exact opposite. Kennedy gets it. He understands how image is part of this now. Nixon will later say that debate cost him the election. The 1960 election is one of the closest we've ever had. Kennedy's going to win the election by about, and this is again popular vote, and it doesn't matter, it's the Electoral College that matters, but in total, he wins by about 120,000 votes. A really close election. And now Kennedy becomes the president, and he's really the face of the next generation of Cold Warriors. The thing about it, though, is Kennedy's a Democrat. And in the American political system, Democrats are more closely aligned with the communists than the Republicans are. Now, please understand, I'm not saying Democrats are communists. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that along the political spectrum, Democrats are closer to the ideas of communists. So now you have a president who is immediately questioned by even the American people, saying, you better prove to us you're not even close to the communists. You better be a hardened anti-communist. Kennedy's hearing this from day one because he's going to be handed a problem.
Yes.
Communism spreads into the Western Hemisphere. Communism comes to Cuba. Cuba is this island that's 90 miles off the American coast. Now remember, we talked about this way back in the Spanish-American War. Do we have this weird little relationship with Cuba?
Yeah.
It's very, very bizarre. Now, I need to kind of set this up in such a way because the Cuban Revolution is going to come shortly before Kennedy takes office. Cuba's been under a military regime since the early 1950s. General Bautista is going to run for the Cuban presidency in 1952, and Bautista's a long-time military man, and he has the loyalty of the military. In 1952, he's going to run for the presidency of Cuba, and he can kind of see the writing on the wall. He's not going to win the election. So just don't have the election. He just cancels it. Election's canceled, and Bautista just takes power. Now, he has the backing of the military. So if you don't like what Bautista's doing, guess what happens to you? You get arrested, you're jailed. Now, I gotta say this, Bautista is not a communist. In fact, he's very anti-communist. So as the United States, what do we have to do? We back him up. We give him finances, we give him supplies, and we say, hey, as long as you're not a communist, we're gonna help you. Unfortunately, Bautista proves to be a very poor choice. His regime becomes more brutal, more corrupt, and something that they do that we're going to actually see as kind of a pattern going forward is he would always tell the U.S., look, I have issues with the communists down here. It looks like they're kind of massing. So in order for me to fight the communists, I'm going to need some more money. If you're the United States, can you ever really turn him down?
No.
So Bautista would simply just take this money and put it in his pocket. And then a month later, he goes back to the U.S. and says, man, these communists are really tough. If you want me to fight them, I'm going to need more than what you gave me last time. Do we check to our goes? Yeah. But what happens if he says, well, I need to buy this and this and this to fight the communists? If you don't believe me, maybe Cuba falls with the communists.
Banking banks do not have
Sure.
do not have online.
So what happens if you get there and you say, man, this guy isn't really using our money very well?
Again,
Do you stop sending him money?
No, because he's going to fall with the gun.
So you just hand him cash. Yes, I totally hear what you're saying. It seems like we're just handing money to this guy. We are. And here's someone else that makes this even weirder. The mafia really likes this guy. Because the mafia was running corrupt casinos in Cuba. And guess who kept them there and was protecting them? as long